Welcome to Dark Knight Films Reviews, Action Movie Night. Tonight's review is The Spy Who Loved Me.
This 1977 Roger Moore James Bond film is pretty much a return to form to the style of the Sean Connery films in a lot of respects. You have a much better villain that is properly used throughout it and not underwhelmed by stupid choices the way that they did with the previous two films. And Curt Jurgens is great as Karl Stromberg. And then, of course, he has an excellent henchman that doesn't detract from his performance with Richard Kiel in his first appearance as Jaws. And then you have even Caroline Munro popping up in here as the character of Naomi. And I really wish she would have been your main Bond girl, because I think she puts a lot more into her performance than Barbara Bach's main character of this spy of the title. And that's a shame, because I really like Barbara Bach, but I don't think she is the best of the Bond girls. She's very attractive. She is fairly good in this film, but she is nowhere near as good as Jurgens and Kiel in their roles. They just completely overshadow her completely in this film. But Roger Moore is excellent in this, as charismatic and as cool as ever. We get our first appearance of Geoffrey Keene's Minister of Defense, who would be a normal character in future films, and at one point in the series he actually is sort of a replacement for M for a short time. Speaking of M, we do have Bernard Lee back in this film, and he is great, as we do also have Lois Maxwell as Miss Moneypenny, and of course Desmond Llewelyn as Q. But we also get Robert Brown as Admiral Hartgrave, another first appearance for him in the series. Of course, later on, he would take on the role of M himself after Bernard Lee's untimely passing. But overall, I think this film really corrects a lot of the negatives that I had with the previous two films, with the unnecessary humor being added to it. Roger Moore is going to do his witty one-liners and everything, and that is fine, because Sean Connery did that too. So that is not detracting from the story with that. That is the way Bond has always been. But when you add goofy elements like the sheriff from the past two films and everything, and, goofy little sidekicks and everything, it just really detracts from the overall badassery that is James Bond. And I think the returning Louis Gilbert as director on this really, really kicks it back into what a James Bond film should be. And to me, this is at this point was one of the better Roger Moore films in the series. And I just think it is super well done throughout. The action sequences with Roger Moore and Richard Kiel. Bond versus Jaws is awesome. And like I said, as a villain commanding the henchman, Curt Jurgens as Karl Stromberg is a very underrated villain in James Bond films, in my opinion. I don't think he gets enough talks about how good of a villain he is, because he's not an over-the-top villain, and he is sort of a lot like the way that Christopher Lee was in The Man with the Golden Gun, except he doesn't have the negatives of a goofy sidekick. He has a strong, badass henchman working alongside him. And Richard Kiel's performance, coupled with him, just makes this film so much better than the previous two Bond films, and in my opinion is a major step up in the franchise. So, with the exception of Barbara Bach, who I think could have been better, like I said, I think Caroline Munro would have been a much better choice as the final Bond girl, but she was just used as this villainous, she's still a Bond girl, but she was just this villainous, character that was only in a couple of scenes, as opposed to Barbara Bach being in it from the get-go. Barbara Bach's fine. I'm not shitting on her, but she just is underwhelming compared with the characters of Stromberg and Jaws. So, my final review for The Spy Who Loved Me. I am going to give this film a 9.2 out of 10. I think this is where the series finally stepped back into that Sean Connery, more serious, more fun spy film vibe. And I think it did an excellent job in doing that. And Lois Gilbert did a great job directing this one. Excellent Bond film, in my opinion. But what do you guys think of The Spy Who Loved Me? Do you agree with my review? Do you disagree? Let me know in those comments down below. And as usual, if you enjoyed this video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to click that bell icon so you can be notified about future videos just like this one. And while you're by the subscribe button, click that join button and become a Dark Knight fan. As a Dark Knight Fan Plus member, you have access to an area on the channel right now where you can request a movie, TV series, or ranking video of your choosing. And when that video goes up, it will go up for all Plus members prior to it going up for all other subscribers. So, if you want to get interactive and help me to get more movies, TV series, or ranking videos on here that I might not normally cover, become a Plus member.
Well, that's it for another action movie night. If you missed last month's action movie night, click the link right up here. And if you've missed any of our other videos, check out this playlist and get caught up.